All right, everyone. I want to talk about your last major project that we're working on here. Um, your last major project is going to be a responsive web page. Okay, so this is kind of the everything that we've done throughout the semester kind of rolled into one project. You're going to have to do pre-production, like a wireframe and style tile and a mock-up. You're also going to, write HTML and style it with CSS and do responsive, it brings in layout and everything. So it's really everything that we've talked about in this course. All right, so students will create a responsive web page for a real or fictitious business. So it can be a real company, it can be your friend's, you know, excuse me, Etsy account or something, or it can be a fake one. I don't care. That's not really the purpose of this particular class is to do real, business analysis, blah, blah, blah. This will be a complex layout that incorporates at least two or more columns in the design. And students will make this page responsive to work on desktop, tablet, and smartphones. You only have to create one page. You're, of course, welcome to make more than one page if you want to. I am not requiring that. But of course, you can always do more if you want to. As I mentioned, you are kind of like with assignment two, we are going to do some pre-production, which includes setting up a wireframe for the different size devices. So like what's the layout on a on a desktop? What's the layout on a tablet? What's the layout on a smartphone? That kind of thing. You're also going to create a style tile, which is the visual characteristics of the website, and then a mock-up. We'll talk a little more about that later. Um, I talked about how the wireframe is going to show the different sizes. Requirements of the project, the design of the web page should show should show an understanding of sophisticated layout and examples of multiple columns with text and imagery. In terms of just like literal coding, your, HTML and CSS should follow all the proper syntax, as we always do when we write code. It should be the functionality of the website should work. Excuse me. Your images should load properly. Hyperlinks should work if there are any. In this case, it should break, your breakpoint should work, meaning like when I make the page bigger or smaller, it should readjust itself properly. All of that counts as like functional. And then your page needs to be responsive using all the various things that we've talked about. So using responsive type, imagery, media queries when useful. In this case, the breakpoints are going to be for a smartphone, 1 pixel to 480, tablets 481 to 955, and then anything above 955 or above 955 to infinity is for desktop. Okay. Um, like with assignment one and two, you are going to upload it to a server like your Infinity Free or your GitHub or whatever, you decide to use. I just want to show some examples. Those are actually from last semester. Let's use ones from, show some examples here. All right, so here's the good re this is a student's lab or page here. You can see how it has like multiple columns, boom, 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 boom. I'm just going to use inspect, use the responsive web design option here to make it easy to see it in different sizes. So it's like, notice how the images are responsive, they get bigger and smaller. When it gets to a smaller, it breaks into a two-column layout. So this went from like 5 columns into 3 columns, right? And then this breaks into 1 column. Here's another one. This person made one for coffee, and it's like you know, you can see as it gets smaller, breaks into two columns and then one column, or I guess it doesn't become one column, but you can see how this becomes smaller. Notice how this disappears and gets replaced by, you know, like a clickable or look at a hamburger icon as we call it. Note that we can't make the hamburger icon interactive, meaning that would require JavaScript, which we're not covering in this course. I mean, to be honest, you guys know how to chat GPT it if you really want it to work. But I mean, eventually you would and if if there was a part two to this course, the part two would really be learning JavaScript and then integrating JavaScript into a working web page because they pretty much go hand in hand with each other. We just haven't really covered that aspect yet. But you can see how it's like, there's one, two, three, four columns, and then it's like two columns, and then it's like one column. Okay. See how he's like this person changed the layout. So it's like first it's kind of like, kind of more of like a I'm not even sure what it is. It may even be Flexbox. I'm not even sure. Then it kind of breaks, so it's like everything's on its own line. Okay, so hopefully that gives you an idea of what I'm looking for this assignment. Okay. Bibbidi bobbidi boom. So in the end, you guys are going to upload this to a server like we normally do. Like we normally do, you're going to take the URL and put that into a web page. Save that into your root folder. You're going to submit me a root folder that has all of the necessary files. This includes HTML, image, your CSS, images, audio, video, anything that's relevant. You guys are also going to make a multi-page PDF. This is like a presentation, if you will. And I'll talk a little bit more about this, but this is like you're gonna have like a cover page, and then it's like, okay, there's a cover, and then there's, your pre-production material, which is your wireframe, your style tile, and your mock-up, and then a link that goes to the actual working website. Okay. I'll show this in a second, and I'll show you guys how to make a multiple page PDF. So if you don't know how to do that, that's okay. I'll show you guys how to do that. All right, so, oops, I gotta change the date on this, but like what we did for